What's up, everybody? Welcome to episode 5 of the StaleMates YouTube show. Last episode that we did, I did a fictional mock draft of what I thought that if there was a fictional professional wrestling league, real wrestling, if they did a draft, what current NCAA wrestlers would go in the top 10. And I had a lot of fun doing it. It got me thinking, since it's draft week still. Tonight's the first day of the draft. I thought I would bring up some former wrestlers who ended up getting drafted, did play in the NFL. They either wrestled in high school or wrestled even before that. And I had a fun time coming up with this list. Now, this isn't a top 10 or anything like that. I know there's a lot of NFL players from back in the day who used to wrestle that, including NCAA champions who went on to play for the Patriots, I believe. I think it was Stephen Neal. Anyways, I came up with a list of, I believe, 9 former wrestlers who ended up playing in the NFL, and these are all current, I believe, unless some of them have gotten cut recently or something like that. But I believe that they're all current, and I think they're all playing for a team in the NFL today. So without further ado, let's get into it. The first one I have on the list was drafted in the 2018 NFL draft. He was drafted in the first round, the second overall pick, Quan Berkeley. I thought this one was interesting. I actually didn't know that he used to wrestle. He comes from the Lehigh Valley area, so we all know that that's a very heavy wrestling breeding ground. And I watched an interview on Flow, I believe, that Darian Cruz did, where he kind of talked about, how much of an athlete that Saquon was back in the day. And I found an article on Vice that they did on him where they interviewed the high school wrestling coach and how, he was excited for Saquon, and he thought that he was going to be a good wrestler. However, Saquon didn't wrestle in high school. He wrestled as a youth, though. They said he was one of the best 95 to 105 pound wrestlers back in his day, back when he was that small. Saquon Berkeley, second overall pick. That's pretty cool to see. I tried to find some of his old footage or some of his old brackets. I didn't look too hard, but some of it was kind of hard to find. All right, the second one that we have on the list here is Danny Shelton. He was drafted in the 2015 draft. He was in the first round. He was the 12th overall pick. Danny Shelton is a defensive tackle, I believe, and he was drafted by the Cleveland Browns in 2015. Danny Shelton, this was actually a pretty interesting one. It shows you how much of an athlete this guy is. He only wrestled, I believe, 1 year. And he got 6th in the state of Washington in Class 4A in 2010. He got 6th at heavyweight. So I believe wrestled, as far as I know, he wrestled for 1 year and ended up placing at state, which is kind of cool. And then I did read that in his senior year, he did not wrestle, but he continued to work out with the team. I think at that point he kind of knew his path was football, and so he was trying to focus more on that. All right. The third one is actually pretty cool. This is Robert Quinn. If you know football or follow football, you definitely know this guy. He's an outside linebacker. I believe he's currently on the Patriots. He's on the Rams. Okay, he's an outside linebacker for the Rams, I believe. No, Bears, Chicago Bears. Okay, I think he was drafted by the Rams, the St. Louis Rams. Okay, so he's on the Chicago Bears currently. 2-time Pro Bowler in the NFL. He's a stud. Was a stud in high school at wrestling. This is probably one of our more prolific high school wrestlers on this list that I put together here. He was a 3-time South Carolina state champ, which is at heavyweight, which is, that's awesome. All right, fourth on the list here we have Alex Mack, and he was drafted in 2009. He was also a first rounder. At the 21st overall pick. Let's see here. Alex Mack, he was drafted by the Cleveland Browns, which I think we've had multiple Cleveland Brown. I believe Danny Shelton was also drafted by the Cleveland Browns. He wrestled for 4 years. His senior year, he only had 2 losses, and he reached the state finals. So, and he's from California, which I believe in California they only have 1 class. So, stud. Absolute stud. The next one here we have, that was all we have for our first rounders. I'm sure there is more. This next one is from my home state, Austin Blythe. He wrestled for Williamsburg. He was drafted in 2016, the 7th round at pick number 248. He's currently playing for the Rams. And it's funny because we actually wrestle at the same tournament. My high school wrestles at the same tournament as Williamsburg does. And I remember, I think I don't know what grade I was in, but or if I was even wrestling, I might have been in junior high and drove up to this tournament to watch. But I remember somebody telling me, like, hey, that guy's going to play football at Iowa next year because he had already committed, I believe, to play football. And I was like, wow. And he's like, he's already a 2-time state champ, which he ended up winning 3. So he's a 3-time state champ, and he was going to play football. And I remember just being a kid and being like, I could not fathom that somebody would win 3 state titles and then not go and do that in college. It just blew my mind. But fast forward years later, I'm watching the Rams play on like a Monday night or something like that, and I see his name on the back, and I did a quick Google search. I was like, man, I was wrong, which I know he was good at in college and stuff, which but I remember just kind of laughing, like thinking how naive I was as a kid. But yeah, it's clearly working out for him. He's a stud. He's still playing. I believe he was drafted by the Colts, and then he ended up he plays for the Rams now. I think he made the right decision there, which it's cool to see, a wrestler kind of go that far. The next one is James Ferentz. He was undrafted in 2014. He wrestled for Iowa City High. I threw him in there because he's another one that I remember watching. One of them actually wrestled one of my cousins one time at our home tournament, and Iowa City High, they come down to the Centerville Michael Upnick tournament every year, and that tournament is at the beginning of January, so I believe it's a time period between it's like during Christmas break, and there's also no football games going on, and so his dad, Kirk Ferentz, the head coach of Iowa, would always come down. I think that was like one of the few times of the year he was able to watch him. So he had multiple sons wrestle in high school. And so he would always kind of come down and watch it. And for the most part, people would leave him alone. But I know, like, every time during an intermission, like anytime there's a break in the tournament and he would go use, the restroom or something, people would watch him, and you would see him kind of, walk down the bleachers and over to, like, outside the gym where the concession stand area is, and all the little kids would run. And he was usually pretty cool. I think he's just kind of like just a nice guy, and he loves the sport of wrestling. He's put out, a lot of quotes about how he loves recruiting former wrestlers and whatnot. So very cool to see James Ferentz there. All right, this next one I did not know. When I was doing some Googles on this topic, I thought this was awesome. I don't know if it's really out there as much, but this next guy, he was undrafted, but his rookie year was in 1996. He's still playing. Adam Vinatieri. He is the leading all-time scorer in the NFL, kicker for the Colts. I believe he used to kick for the Patriots as well. Another thing that's found is interesting, unwrestling related, is he's third cousins with Evel Knievel, which I don't know if that's just some Wikipedia thing that somebody threw in there. I thought that was kind of cool, though. Anyways, I didn't find any accolades that he had, but he wrestled. He's from South Dakota. And South Dakota is one of those states that you can wrestle in junior high. And so a fun fact about him is that he actually earned a varsity letter in wrestling in junior high. That's the only really fun fact I have. I'm not sure if I'm doing him a disservice, and he's got more accolades than that. But I just thought it was cool. I think we all know who he is. If you watch football, you definitely know who he is. The next one is Casey Creeder. He was undrafted in 2014, but he is a Pro Bowler now. I believe he recently signed with the New York Giants, but he spent some time with the Denver Broncos. He wrestled for the DeWitt Sabres in Iowa. I believe that is a 2A school. It looks like he grew up around the sport of wrestling. It says he was all conference in high school, which is pretty cool. And if you follow, he's a good follow on Twitter. If you follow him on Twitter, he talks a lot about wrestling. He follows it very deeply. I know he's like he calls in and tweets Flow Wrestling regularly, and he's always got some good takes on wrestling. And I thought he was a cool one to put on the list. And Casey Creeder. All right, the next one, and I believe the final one on the list here, I have Matt Breida. Very cool. I know Matt Breida. I think if you follow or do fantasy football, you know who Matt Breida is. He was undrafted in 2017. I believe he currently plays for the 49ers. He was in the Super Bowl last year. He's a running back. He had a lot of production for the 49ers. I'm not a football expert, but I just he's a pretty well-known running back in the league right now. I don't know the extent of his wrestling career as well, but I know he wrestled for Nature Coast Tech High School. So yeah, I don't know. That was cool. I didn't know. There's a few of these that I really didn't know. I didn't know Quan Berkeley wrestled in high school. I didn't know about Matt Breda, and I didn't know about Robert Quinn, especially that he was a 3-timer. We actually have we have 2 3-timers on this list, which I think is pretty sweet. That's all I have for today. I thought that was fun. I'm interested to see how the draft goes tonight. I'm hoping that Green Bay Packers get some help at the wide receiver position and some defense. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, follow all of our social media stuff, which I'll put, in the description down below. Working on some cool stuff we got coming up here. I know Tyler Walker and our satellite location in Boulder, Colorado, aka his apartment, is working on some stuff as well. I'm excited. We got some cool stuff brewing up. So I never know how to end these things. So I'm just gonna end it. I'm just gonna end it right here. Thanks, guys.